This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Lynne Rothrock. Lynne, welcome.
Hi, Dennis. Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you. You're here. Well, I really want to talk about your cabaret college that you were on the faculty of, because I saw all kinds of really cool pictures with you and Michael Feinstein.
I know.
Oh my God!
I know it.
But
Okay.
we'll do that kind of in the middle. So
Gotcha.
we'll talk a little bit about your show that's upcoming.
Okay.
Then we'll talk about
famous people I've worked with recently.
famous people you have hung out with, and then we'll wrap up by talking about the show again.
Okay, sounds good.
So there's a show coming up August 26th and 27th.
That's correct.
Opus, downtown,
Yes.
featuring your husband, Ron DeWitte. For those who don't know, your husband, Ron DeWitte, is the famous guitar player, blues, Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member, one of our great guitar treasures in Iowa. And you have put together a show and talk about famous people. You're kind of bringing in a pretty heavy hitter to play with him.
Yes, we are. Ron and I had the occasion to go to Minneapolis to play a gig at the end of May with a couple friends of mine from various chapters of my life. And one of them, through an association with this gentleman, invited this pedal steel player to play the gig named Joe Savage. And Joe played on Prairie Home Companion for years with Garrison Keillor. And Ron loves pedal steel. And I had heard Joe play once, so I was really excited that he just agreed to play on this gig with us. And it was like they had the biggest bromance. I mean, they just musically connected. And Joe didn't even rehearse with us. He just showed up at the gig and did a lot of fills and solos and stuff. I mean, he'd had our charts ahead of time and stuff. But it was just one of those nights where you just think, this is amazing. There's an amazing connection happening between these two guys. And
this is why you do music.
Exactly.
For nights like this.
Yes. And so it was such a peak experience for Ron, and he just was so over the moon because this guy was unbelievable, and it's a favorite instrument of Ron's that we don't hear that much around here. And it was such a spectacular night, and I decided, boy, I'd love to try to see if he'd be willing to come to Iowa and play a gig kind of in our neck of the woods. And he loved playing with Ron also. And so we finally found a date that worked and a venue that was open, and that's happening. So the linchpin of this particular gig really is my husband. I want a chance for him to be in the beautiful Opus Concert Cafe with a lovely audience of people who are really tuned into what he's doing, but also for him and Joe to have another chance to really just play music together, and I think it's going to be spectacular.
Now, for those who don't know, Ron is suffering from stage 4 cancer, and so is up and down with chemo. So,
Right.
How's he feeling?
Not great. I will say this, he has yet to miss a gig, and he actually plays quite often. So, and when he plays a gig, when he picks up his guitar, he is literally transformed. And so, it's something quite special to see because he is weak, he is very thin, he doesn't feel good. And then when he plays music, he would tell you he just finally kind of forgets that he's sick. But I would tell you that he's been kind of broken open by this illness, and he just pours his whole heart and soul into every single performance. It's really, really spectacular. And that's part of the reason that night in Minneapolis was so special. He really felt crappy that day. And he has cramping and things that happen in his fingers because of the chemo. And that night was just a true testament to the transformative power of music for someone for whom it's just in their soul. So it's a really special time for us and difficult, but musically it's like something I've never seen before. So it's really, I don't know, pretty cool.
You of course, never wish hardship on anybody that you love, but I agree that seeing Ron play and seeing what happens to his body and his face when he plays music is really one of the most transformative experiences I've ever had as a music listener. Every moment is really special.
Yes.
Who else is going to be in the band?
Me. I mean, I'm going to sing. And then I'm so excited to kind of have this wonderful woman that I've sort of recently discovered. Her name is Julia Andrews West, and she is just so great. And I'm so happy that she's finally joining one of our gigs. She's going to be on keyboard.
Is she the keyboard player that you've been working with in your cabaret classes at Theater
Yes,
Cedar
she
Rapids?
is, but she's a total jazzer too. And she reads music, and she's a great hang and just the best. I mean, just such a wonderful person too. So excited to bring her in. Also, we have Danny O'Lean on bass, who is just rock solid, and we love playing with Danny. And then we have the adorable Greg Cans, and there is no one more adorable on drums. And he and Ron also have kind of a special relationship. They're just buddies. So that's fun too, to have him on the gig. It should be amazing.
So it's Ron DeWitte and Joe Savage and the other musicians that we just mentioned on the 26th and the 27th at the Opus Concert Cafe. We'll talk tickets in a minute. Before we do that, musical fanboy here. I got to hear about all your brushes with greatness, because you spent some time with some pretty serious names in the singing biz.
Yes.
So tell me how that came about, first of all.
Well, first of all, Michael Feinstein has a foundation called the Foundation for the Great American Songbook, and its purpose is to proliferate and preserve archives. Basically, it's kind of a library sort of thing, in addition to encouraging people to continue to sing the music of the Great American Songbook. And he developed this foundation, and now it has a home in Carmel, Indiana, which was just kind of a town that courted him, because he wanted his foundation to be in a city where it wasn't competing with a whole bunch of other museums. And
didn't want to be in New York,
exactly.
for example.
And what Carmel, Indiana did, their mayor just stepped up and they built this gorgeous Palladium Performing Arts Center, and it's joined by two other smaller theaters, and then the foundation itself is housed inside the Palladium. And one of the projects that this organization does is produces something called the Songbook Academy, which happens every summer, and high school students from all over the United States audition. And I had actually been a screener for the auditions for them for a couple years, just picking who got to attend. And then this year they asked me to teach, I was very excited. And there were 40 kids. They came and they got to spend a week there. And it was just one amazing day after another of they all prepared 2 songs, and ultimately it's kind of a competition, so there is a winner, but they got coached and master classes and coachings every day by amazing people, and I was one of them. I was not one of the famous ones.
You're one of the amazing people.
I was one of the amazing people, but
don't sell yourself short, because the thing that we know, and the thing that you are too modest to say usually, is that you are in the top echelon of the cabaret singers in the country, and you tour nationally, and you tour internationally. So you are a big deal.
I kind of am a big deal, but I'm in an even smaller group that I'm also work a lot in education of that field.
You can teach it. You can't just sing it. You can't just perform.
Right.
But you can also teach it.
So because of the
That's huge.
teaching arm of what I do, I am kind of well known more because of that, I guess, too. So
it's not a surprise that you got asked to be on the faculty at all.
No, I guess not.
But you got to hang with Michael Feinstein.
Yes, my new good friend Michael, who actually was so lovely and gracious and so kind to all of the kids that he coached, and was just amazing. And this is a guy who, when he was in his 20s, he lived in Ira Gershwin's house and was his archivist. That was his job, was to archive everything that Ira Gershwin had. And then Ira became his mentor. And Ira's next door neighbor was Rosemary Clooney, and he became the son she never had. And that was when he was in his 20s. So he knows everyone, and he also knows every lyric to every song, and all the lyricists, all the composers, all the backstories, the most obscure He is like a walking encyclopedia
Not only the Great American Songbook, but the Socio-American Songbook too. He's got them all.
Right, that's right, actually, yeah. And so the way they define the Great American, what is something that's in the Great American Songbook, was a great definition. His definition is it has to be something that has stood the test of time and also become so popular or well-known that it has become part of our culture. So there's a cultural recognition for the piece of music and something that then is reinterpreted by other artists. So, yeah, so there will be songs that are certainly the Beatles and certainly the various artists in more recent times that will probably become part of that milieu. But
it takes decades.
It does.
It takes decades to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Exactly. And so, but I one night we were sitting at the hotel bar, and it was Michael Feinstein, it was Janis Siegel from the Manhattan Transfer.
You name dropper.
I know.
You're
I can't
just
help
a
it. I
name
can't help
dropper.
it. And but there were other people sitting around, and at one point I leaned over and I said to Michael, would it be weird if I started taking notes? And he just laughed, and I'm like, I'm kind of serious because they're naming all these amazing artists and composers and things that I want to remember that I'm not familiar with. So it was just a spectacular experience. And like Janis Siegel taught the students a workshop on the history of jazz singing, and then coached the kids, and of course Michael worked with every one of them, and then Mark Cherry, who's a TV guy who developed the show Desperate Housewives, and he and Michael are good friends, and he has a degree in musical theater, so I guess he comes every year and does like a workshop, and that was very interesting. And then there were also just a couple kind of vocal technique workshops, and one of them literally just blew my mind because, like everything else, there are like new theories being developed on vocal technique and singing, and I've not even heard of them because I stopped studying that in 1992 or whatever. We all kind of learned the same classical technique for the last 100 years or more in college, and so there were a couple things that I learned that have just knocked me out, and I'm going to learn more. I'm planning to go to a workshop in November taught by one of the women at the that I met there, and then probably to do a national workshop in that area. It was amazing. Sylvia McNair, who's actually a former opera singer but now a interpreter of the Great American Songbook, was there. Jared Spector, who played Frankie Valli on Broadway for years, as he came in, every day I'd be like, well, we're wrapping things up. No, there's another fabulous, famous person who is going to talk. And it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I learned as much as I taught, probably more. But my group of these people I got to work with ended up doing great, and they won first and second.
Oh,
they
well,
were mine.
Okay, nice.
So I was a little proud of that. And I'm going back. So, and in fact, I think I'll probably be doing other projects with the foundation because it really is like, when I even heard about it, I went, that's my gig. That's my gig. And it's relatively new. This program has only been, the high school thing has only been a few years, and it started out with just like 5 or 10 kids regionally. Now it's 40 kids nationally, and that's only been for the last 2 years. So, and we have many, many students in Iowa who would be amazing in that program, and they just didn't know about it. So,
and that's the other part of your mission.
I'm going to be like visiting all the high schools, going to Des Moines and saying, you kids, if you're interested in this kind of singing, which is basically solo, song performance, this is an unbelievable opportunity. And it really was just a spectacular week. It was my Disneyland.
Talking with Lynne Rothrock about her experiences in Carmel with Michael Feinstein's foundation, but also got the gig coming up with Ron DeWitte and Joe Savage and the band on the 26th and the 27th of August. Right. It'll be at the Opus Concert Cafe. How do people get tickets?
They can call the box office, which is 319-366-8203. or they can visit artsiowa.com, which is how you purchase tickets through
Online.
Online and through, it'd be in the same, it's in the same thing area where you'd get Paramount tickets or symphony tickets, actually. So you can get them online or at the box office. They're selling pretty well. So I would encourage people not to wait just because it's not a huge venue. It's a beautiful venue though. And it's really, really one of our favorites for sure to play. And I expect it will probably sell out. And I'm encouraging, Ron's been playing music for like 50 years around the Midwest, and so many people are familiar with him, have heard him play long before I ever knew him. He has this body of work, and it's a time in our lives where we're trying to do things that are really special. And if you're a fan of his music or you've ever liked his music, this would be something that you wouldn't want to miss, I would say. Mm-hmm.
So again, artsiowa.com if you'd like tickets. And good luck with the show.
Thanks,
I just know it's going to be spectacular.
It
every
is.
moment I get to see Ron play
Yeah.
is just so transformative these days.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
So good luck with it, and come back.
I will. Okay. Thanks, Dennis.
Lynne Rothrock, and in performance with Ron DeWitte and Joe Savage and the rest of the band on the 26th and the 27th. Thanks again for coming in, Lynne.
Sure. Thanks.